Once again, guys, it's been some time since we finally had a match on this map, Greentooth Jungle. I felt an impulse to say Greentooth Gorge then because it just rolls off the tongue so naturally after saying it so many times, but no, this is Greentooth Jungle. That's going to be the map today, and we've got Vindicare. I don't know if this is Vindicare X or if it's just Vindicare. I'm guessing it's not Vindicare X because I don't know who this opponent is, and Vindicare X is a very good player, so this might be a noob game. We'll see, it might be Vindicare X, we'll see when we see how he plays. Nothing bad, nothing unusual really happening so far. Sentinel just scouting. Sentinel meets the tax, and that's obviously not who you want to meet early game. You want to meet their scouts so you can bleed them nice and effectively in the early game. So, you know what, this might be Vindicare X because he's playing pretty smart, he's very responsive, instantly moving. A little bit unlucky there not to kill the scout model, and they retreat straight out so they don't lose a model. Tax force off the scent. What's happening elsewhere? Not a whole lot. Tech Marine safe on this side, capping up that point. A little bit late on capping the power here, but I don't know how familiar the player will be with the power farms in this map. It's not often that this map is played, and also in retail, if this is Vindicare X, this map was totally different. It was very weird in retail actually. One player's base was here, like normal, and the other player's base was here, with the VPs like here. So just think how weird that is. You were fighting over like a contested power farm here, and then these farms were very vulnerable because just think the distance from that base down to there, tiny. And then you had crazy retreat paths if you were retreating from here, the top side. Anyway, yeah, the map got reworked for Elite mod. Didn't take much, just moved around the spawn points and the VPs, and now it's way better. But it's still, you know, both of these points basically, they're both natural powers. I actually prefer to build on this one, rather than this one. Because there's lots of fights that happen around the contested VP, and then to push up onto these contested farms doesn't take that long. Anyway, a little bit of scrapping going on at the moment. Lord General found himself in a situation where he has to go up against 6 tactical Space Marines, not really an ideal situation for him. So he's going to soft retreat back to the support of a heavy weapons team. There you go, humans. Show them the power of heavy machine guns. Tactical Marines get suppressed, have to pull out a little bit. But they're alright. They mostly just shrug it off. They are tactical Marines at the end of the day in Tier 1. There's not a lot that can take them down very quickly, certainly not when they have cover. But Sentinel and Guardsman trying to contribute what they can here. Nice enfilade of fire coming in from the Lord General on the other side. Guardsman losing a lot of models to the melee of the tactical Marines. They're going down to 2. Has he already got the Sergeant? No, he doesn't actually have the Sergeant yet either. And now the Space Marine player is trying to adapt and flank around. Tries to get the wipe on the Guardsman. Wow, he comes pretty close actually. Gee, wow. 9 HP. I didn't expect that from the flanking range fire. If only that Tech Marine was a little bit further up here to the right, that could have been a wiped Guardsman squad, and that would be pretty huge. IG very reliant on requisition in the early game. But he hasn't wiped him. I do note that that Guardsman squad isn't getting the Sergeant straight away. That's not the Sergeant, is it? Oh, it is the Sergeant. Okay, fine. Yeah, so that Guardsman squad's going to be out of the field for a little bit of time, but at least he's going to cost effectively reinforce that. Triple gens? Okay, interesting. No gens yet from the Space Marine player. He should be dropping some soon, I think. He obviously delayed those gens for a long time because he's going for double tax ASM, which is a crazy amount of requisition. 1,350 in fact. But he should have, yeah, nearly 200 now, so I think he definitely wants to be dropping 1 gen. Probably honestly drop 2 gens as soon as you can. And what he wants next. So he's only gone for 1 gen. Maybe he's going for a super heavy tier 1. It would make sense if he wants Devastators next and he wants them like quite quickly, that he'd only drop the 1 gen so that he doesn't have to wait too long for them. That'd be a risky play. Heavy tier 1 can be quite strong against IG. I feel like the longer tier 1 goes on for, the better it gets for Space Marines, but also the worse it gets for IG. However, he would need to get a Gem Bash off if he does go for instant Devastators here. Otherwise, the potential of a fast Chimera could just finish him. Do we see any Flamers? This could be a good time for a timing push, given that Vindicare... Where is that heavy weapons team? It just got routed by the ASM. We see the Flamer coming up now, a little bit late if I'm honest with you. Could have started getting that upgrade a long time ago. It is the rear attacks that are getting that as they walk over. There is a split gen farm here for Vindicare. So he obviously feels like he's not going to be able to defend all of his gen farm potentially here. The lack of Kadashans, especially when you're playing as a Lord General, feels kind of bad, because ASM just counter you so easily. You've got no melee war gear upgrades that you can get, unlike the Lord Commissar or the Inquisitor. And, oh, that was a bit of an optimistic jump for precisely these reasons, jumping into the firing arc of the heavy weapons team. But nonetheless, the sheer amount of damage that they're outputting means that that Guardsman squad does get wiped. ASM, very greedy there. He only needed to wait a few more seconds. If he pulled them back rather than pushing them in, he would have had his second jump. Could have forced off that heavy weapons team. Granted, he would have been jumping into the base turret, so I guess that probably wouldn't have been the case. This is part of the reason why this gen farm is so defensible. Even here, the heavy weapons team is still within firing range of his own base turrets, which is kind of nuts. But it's a good push. It's a good push from BZ. BZ nearly able to go tier 2 himself. We'll see how much he floats. Hopefully not too much, because he needs to get to tier 2 quickly now, so that a Chimera Rush doesn't come out and wipe his farm. And if he can prevent the Chimera Rush from wiping any gens in his farm, I think BZ is basically in an advantaged position here. I'm not really liking the Lord General player. I noticed that the Lord General fully capped this requisition point, then moved over to fully cap this VP. I feel like he really needed him in the combat there, and running him around as a capping unit is not very effective use of your hero. Certainly not when you have a smaller army and you really need him in the fights to stand a chance at winning those engagements. Building that extra gen on the other farm, certainly helping out Vindicare there. He did actually lose all 3 gens on his natural. She hasn't replaced yet, and he also doesn't seem to be queuing up a Chimera either, because, okay, I think he just queued it up. No, Ogrins. Wow, that is really interesting. I don't like this position for Vindicare. I really don't like it. Losing the Guardsman, he's going to have no real ability to get the Gen Bash off with Ogrins. You know, Space Marines can knock Ogrins over, like, very easily. And you're kind of just baiting them into getting a Plasma Gun, which then kind of guarantees the Sentinel's going to get wiped, because Plasma does insane damage to the Sentinel. You wouldn't normally get the Plasma Gun, because it only kills the Sentinel, and it's, like, only marginally better against the Guardsman. And it obviously doesn't help versus the Chimera, but yeah, with the Ogrins, Plasma's going to do really well against the Ogrins. I would get at least 1 Plasma Gun. Get some shotguns on my scouts. ASM can knock them over with the jumps. We've even got Signum Armor on the Tech Marine. Oh man, Plasma Guns plus Signum Armor, that'd be brutal. But we'll see how it goes. Maybe Vindicare's got a plan. Certainly the Lord General can support Ogrins extremely effectively, so we'll see how they do. We'll see how they do. Now, the good thing about Ogrins is they can shrug off bolters very easily. Vast majority of the damage here is coming in from the actual ASM chainsaws, but even then it's not that big of a deal, and you see the Ogrins are quite handily tanking the damage of these ASM, now bleeding their models, and the ASM really should have jumped out there. Yeah, they lose another model now in retreat to those Ogrins. No Sentinel Stomp upgrade, which I think is why... Oh my god, are they going to wipe in retreat? The Ripper guns on the Ogrins contributing some huge damage as well. Those guys actually have 100% fire on the move, and each of these Ripper guns actually does about the same damage as a Tactical Marine Bolter, with 100% fire on the move. Now, they don't have the range of a Bolter, but yeah, something to consider. These guys are no slouches. So that is actually a huge win for Vindicare, and all of a sudden, just like that, he is definitely in this game for sure. Because now he's getting the Gem Bash that I said he wouldn't be able to get with the Ogrins, because it shouldn't have happened. And one of the tools that you can use to control the Ogrins is the ASM with their knockback, because Ogrins, they're tough, they can shrug off piercing damage, but they're not immune to suppression and they're not immune to knockback, so you can control them with those kind of tools. But BZ has now lost that asset. Instead, he's going to be relying on a melee Dreadnought. Now, the melee Dreadnought will absolutely smash the skulls in of those Ogrins in melee combat. And of course it has that Emperor's Fist ability to stun them as well. Furthermore, if the Dreadnought starts killing Guardsmen in melee, which shouldn't really get that close, it does start killing them though, it will kill them very fast, and you're going to get a lot of inspiration buffs for your nearby tactical marines to make them a lot stronger. The problem is, Ogrins are quick, especially with their ability Use Your Head. They can also get speed buffs from the grenade launcher of the Lord General, and they can get buffs to be immune to knockback. All of these things mean that really you shouldn't be in a situation where your Ogrins are needing to have a little bit of a melee tango with a Dreadnought, because that's not, that's not going to go well for the Ogrins. You need to avoid that. But we'll see how it plays out. Now there is already a heavy weapons team on the field, so you would assume that that's going to get a las cannon, which will help somewhat to deal with this Dreadnought. There's potential, missile launcher on the Sentinel that does 100 damage per crack grenade that it shoots out into the Dreadnought. And then you have potential for melter guns on the Lord General as well as another soft AV option. But combine all of those AV options, missile launcher, melter guns, the damage of the heavy weapons team, and the threat of heavy melee from the Ogrins, this Dreadnought could be in a very precarious situation. Now here comes the inspiration buffs. Unfortunately for Vindicare, some of those heavy weapons team models ran far too far forward. They just get tied up in melee and dealt with quite easily. Ooh, now the Ogrins are getting a pretty bad engagement. Running in, trying to deal with attacks, but they're having to run past the Dreadnought. Not ideal. No Emperor's Fist yet. Oh my god, the Ogrins are bleeding so much. They're actually committing way too hard now, trying to get a wipe on the Tactical Space Marines. It's not going to happen, and they lose 3 models, including... No, not including the Bonehead. Okay, that's lucky. Oh, but there is a plasma gun now on the tactical tech marine. It's a very topsy-turvy game. I can't really call who's going to win this. The Ogrins initially put in such great work wiping those ASM, but they're going to be punished quite hard by the tech marine. I would like to think though that this Dreadnought's under a lot of pressure. Where's the Sentinel? Why is the Sentinel sat here in the base? I feel like maybe Vindicare's forgot about the Sentinel? If this is Vindicare X, he certainly doesn't play IG very often, so I guess that would explain some of these things. But yeah, this Sentinel should have been poking at this Dreadnought the whole time. This Dreadnought would be basically dead. I'm pretty sure he's forgot about the Sentinel. Especially while the Dreadnought's in melee form, it has literally no counterplay to the Sentinel. Bit surprised not to see any melter guns as well on the Lord General. Basically, this Dreadnought is the only thing that's stopping the Ogrins from going crazy right now. Flame attacks actually swapping to the plasma gun. I find that odd. Why would you not swap the... Why would you not just keep the flamer and put the plasma gun on the default ones? Strange. But Vindicare is rushing tier 3. I imagine he wants to go for a Lehman Russ drop. That would certainly be the nail in the coffin for the Dreadnought, I imagine. Very lucky special there from the Dreadnought. You see the Dreadnought is now in melee, so he's actually taking reduced damage from the ranged attacks from the last cannon. Plasma guns are outputting a decent amount of damage, but unfortunately there is only one plasma gun here, so now that squad is actually tied up in melee and the Ogrins are kicking the shit out of it. Tactical Marines are promptly routed. Plasma gun overcharged with mark target from the Signum armor, putting on a lot of damage onto these Ogrins. These Ogrins are now at risk of dying in retreat to the Dreadnought. Wow, look at the damage. The splash damage doing huge chunks to those Ogrins. Fortunately, the fire and the move accuracy of that Tech Marine a bit lacking there, and he misses the final shot of the Ogrins. Don't think it would have killed anyway, to be honest. Yeah! He's noticed at last. He completely forgot about his missile launcher Sentinel. And now it's a little bit late, Vindy. Oh my god, get it back. That plasma gun is going to absolutely melt that poor Sentinel. All this time that the Dreadnought was walking around up in these parts of the map on its own with no ranged weapon, that would have been a perfect opportunity to take it out with that missile Sentinel. But hey ho, we all make mistakes. He made the mistake and BZ is still in the game because of it. Now the problem for BZ, well, to be honest, he's got a lot of problems actually. Not only is he quite far behind in tech, he also is massively behind on VPs. Already dropped more than 200 VPs to his opponent. That's going to take some catching up. Now, he has been doing a good job with his scouts, which finally have the shotgun upgrade. That's took some time, but to be honest, he's mostly been using them outside of combat, just using them to constantly cat the map, and I like that play. We do have triple gens for Vindicare. Are these freshly bought? No, they're just really injured. That's kind of weird. I wonder what did that. He needs a little bit more power to drop in his Lehman Russ. He actually needs more resources in general. Okay, here comes the engagement. I think... Oh my god. Those Ogryns, look at that. Triple plasma. Ooh, god, that damage. That was without the damage resistance debuff from Signum Armor. And the Ogryns get absolutely melted. Triple plasma, extremely effective against super heavy infantry armor, as you can all see right there. Where is that Dreadnought? Why isn't it here to support the poor tactical marines that are taking on the army on their own? It's slowly coming over right now, but there's still a little bit of AV on the field. Okay, here is the Lehman Russ. Lehman Russ Global with the Lord General. Get the Lehman Russ in at a pretty sizable discount, maybe like a 40% discount in price, and of course it spawns instantly at the base rather than having to wait for it to build. So that puts the Dreadnought in a lot of pressure. Needs to make a decision. The Ogryns are now wiped, so I don't really think you need to keep a melee Dreadnought around. Not really any reason for that. I would be swapping to a multi-melter Dreadnought, but it really can't take this fight. Not when it's going against free AV tools right now. Fortunately, the actual DPS on the main battle cannon that the Lehman Russ starts off with is not very good. It's about 17 DPS. But, you know, it contributes, and there's only one unit to repair this Dreadnought as well, so those scouts need to just get out of there. I don't really know what they're doing. They're obviously attempting to repair, but yeah. Just a bit silly. Oh, I forgot, yeah, it's Tech Marine, so you can repair with the Tech Marine. And we do indeed see the Melter Gun coming out now. Tech Marine should probably turn around and put some poke on that Sentinel. I don't think the Lehman can actually kill the Dreadnought in base, that's a bit crazy. Not with the 50% damage resistance. Yeah, I mean, just think about it. The Lehman Russ only does 17 DPS by default. With 50% damage resistance, that 17 DPS is 8.5. And one unit can repair a vehicle at 10 HP per second. So it's literally impossible, even with just one repairs, for the Lehman Russ to kill that Dreadnought. Never mind with the Tech Marine there as well. So you would kind of expect the Lehman Russ to be getting the Vanquisher upgrade to give it more range and also to improve its rate of fire. It does lose the splash damage if it gets that upgrade, but let's face it, it's not like he's fighting Tyranids or Orcs or something. There's not a lot of models on the field here anyway. Tactical Marines, the splash isn't going to do huge amounts to them. As you can see right there, that's the splash. Didn't do fuck all. So yeah, get the Vanquisher, and then you have more range and you can stay well away from that Melter Dreadnought. Now we see Orbs of the Omnissiah on the Tech Marine as well. If somehow those Orbs can land on the Lehman Russ, then the Lehman Russ will be quite screwed because of this Melter Dreadnought. And in fact, the Melter Dreadnought right now is putting on insane amounts of pressure to the Lehman Russ. The Lehman Russ fails to micro correctly, and it turns around and exposes its rear armor and is taken out by a Dreadnought. That right there is the power of the multi-melter Dreadnought, but also the power of being able to micro your tanks effectively. Vindicare throws in the GG whilst queuing up another Lehman Russ, but I don't know what another Lehman Russ is really going to do. When your opponent is now tier 3 and can start accumulating more and more AV. Problem here was Vindicare lost too many units. His Guardsmen should have obviously been supporting the Dreadnought, but because he has so few units, they were on capping duties instead. And yeah, it's just going to be a VP trickle at this point. Level 4 Dreadnought though, putting in some huge amount of work. I mean, if only he didn't lose the Ogryns as well, they could have been quite useful tying up the Dreadnought. Granted, they probably wouldn't have lasted very long against triple plasma and Signum armor. Terminator's called in just to rub some salt in the wound. Poor Guardsmen have got no chance. Just realised how many VPs are actually left. So Vindicare did call in that GG, but he isn't conceding. I guess he didn't realise either. Over 300 VPs for himself and only 40 for BZ, but man, with Terminators on the field now as well, I don't see how he can do this. He doesn't have any sort of cap power. He's gone for the Executioner upgrade this time. Actually does better DPS against stationary targets than the Vanquisher, but it's too short range. Look, the Dreadnought's at it again, man. This is just terrifying. Vindicare really failing to micro his tank effectively here. He keeps turning around and showing rear armor. Now that multi-melter is doing crazy damage. He needs to just keep it still. Just keep it still and repair it. He's not even repairing it. Yeah, that tank goes down as well. I mean, when you got the best tanks in the game and you keep losing your tanks to walkers, you know you're doing something wrong. So he says the GG again. You gonna throw in the towel this time? I mean, maybe he's gonna try it with some Kassakin this time. Obviously not gonna work. I think maybe he's dropped now. Doesn't really make any sense to buy Stormtroopers in tier 3. Well, there you go. Classic BM. Probably was Vindicare X. Loves his BM. Don't worry, Vindy. That's why we love you, mate. Well, there you go. You got a game on Greentooth Jungle. Bit of a strange anticlimactic ending there, but what can you do? Yeah. Nice base rate. I mean, do you think it was intentional getting anti-armor kit? Do you think this is actually Vindicare X? Do you think he's actually not dropped right now? I don't know. Let's fast forward, see what happens, see if he says anything else in the end. I mean, you gotta admit, guys, it's always fun to see IG game base raped, right? And you know how you can tell IG are OP? Why does their HQ need a base turret? Ridiculous. Alright. There you go, folks. That is the game. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you did enjoy. If you did enjoy, please leave a like down below and a comment. Comment anything. Comment wombats. Because if you do comment, it will help us in our eternal war against that YouTube algorithm and help more people see this video and videos like it. That is going to be all from your boy Torpid, signing out.